Welcome in the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter, and I'm joined as always by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Vols on Twitter. What are you up to, you big Tennessee homer?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Oh, man, I'm doing well. Recording a late podcast, so there's no promises. This is going to be a great one. But we do got some good clips here. You know what?
We got great clips. We got terrible commentary. So just preparing you right now. No, you know how I do, and I get a little bit late. I've been going all day, Mike. Youngin had softball and everything, so I had to get out there and yell at the coaches for a little bit. But all in all, it's been a pretty good day. Weather's coming in. How are you doing, man?
Oh, yeah, pretty good. We had a little bit of a hailstorm up here in Nashville, so I'm right there with you. I was just hoping and praying we had electricity and internet so that we could actually record this show. You were probably, fingers crossed, we didn't have it.
Absolutely. Well, you're doing a little better than Stetson Bennett, huh? Did you see that video going viral, Mike? If you haven't seen it, TMZ has released the body cam Stetson when he got arrested down there in Texas, and I don't think it was that bad, but I mean, he's drunk, so he's going to say some stupid stuff, and I would imagine that in the 45 minutes he was probably in that cruiser, what they got out of him really wasn't that bad. But man, people love to pile on people when they're having bad days, So if you haven't got a chance,
Shane, I've done a lot worse when I was that age and that drunk. You know what?
Absolutely. I'm glad they didn't have body cams when I was growing up, Mike. I've been in the back of a cruiser before. My dad's law enforcement, too. He's the one that took me to jail. So, I mean, but it wasn't my fault. I was just around bad people. So, no, I'm not pointing any fingers here, Mike. I guess he's really a kid, though. I mean, he is 38, so he's probably older than half them cops that arrested him. But I think he'll learn from this. I think he'll make him a better player in the NFL.
Yeah, well, hey, that's a tough transition, Shane, but I do have one that'll go naturally into Georgia. Let's give a shout-out real quick to Adam Sparks, covers Tennessee for the Knoxville News Sentinel, I believe, USA Today Network, and he has found the data here, Shane, for how much every SEC team spent in their recruiting budget for last season. So I got all that data right here. I'm not going to try to kill you with numbers here, but right off the bat, no surprise, I think I already gave it away. Who do you think, Shane, spends more money than anybody in the SEC, and they're number one in the country in recruiting budget?
Recruiting budget?
Yes, sir.
Shit, man. I'd say Alabama.
Shane, I can tell it's
Texas A&M.
It's a night one. We were talking Stetson, Georgia Bulldogs. I mean, I thought that was a layup.
You teed it up. Well, I didn't think Georgia needed a recruit anymore. They just go down there, win national championships. Then all these 5-stars come down to Athens. I thought that's how it works. So okay. So that how much are they spending?
Little over $3.1 million.
No, that doesn't sound right. That's Mike. You better believe there's more money involved than $3.8 million. You know what I'm saying? Don't you think?
Well, I think this is mostly like traveling, getting the recruits to campus.
Oh, okay.
Housing them for their visits. There's money you can spend on the meals and so everything that goes with it.
They beat Texas?
Yes, sir. We'll get to Texas here in a second.
Okay.
And Texas, not even number one in that state, Shane, from the SEC. Texas A&M, number 3 in the country, $2.9 million. It's the same number as Tennessee. Tennessee, I don't have the exact numbers here, but both of them, $2.9 million. So
yeah,
A&M, Tennessee, they recruit well for a reason. I mean, we know they got established coaches, great fan bases, great stadiums, but they're also spending that money. You know it?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I like it, but that's what you got to do. It's not pay to play. I don't want to say that, but you got to get exposure. You got to get these kids on campus, so you got to spend the money. So is there a cap on this thing, or are they just unlimited? You can just kind of do whatever you want?
Yeah, and I should clarify, Shane, I'm not talking NIL deals and
Yeah.
under the table. Maybe that's where your mind was going when you said, what,
Yeah, that's where I went.
No, no. No, this is how much the schools
That's one wild
legally
weekend
spend.
in Knoxville, you know.
But how about this, Shane? This gave me hope because there's been a lot of, pessimism with Oklahoma coming to the SEC. How can they compete in this mighty conference? Well, how about this, Shane? Under their new coach, Brent Venables, number 5 in the country, $2.6 million. Oklahoma spent in recruit. That's what they're going to have to do. They, we're in a big boy league now. We ain't in a 2-team league anymore. You got to spend if you're Oklahoma, and right next to them, Texas, 2.4. So Oklahoma was number 5 in the country. Texas, number 6 in the country. Mm-hmm. I love to see that, Shane, because that's just another indication that the SEC made the right decision. They're bringing in 2 programs that are committed to spending the money it takes to compete in the SEC.
Absolutely. And look for those to rise, man. When they start getting a little bit of that Disney money, buddy, I mean, they're already in the top 5. Come on, watch out. Texas, Oklahoma are going to be scary when they get more money behind recruiting.
Now, how about this, Shane? This is stunning to me. Now, I don't know the complete, the behind the scenes, but obviously we had the COVID year, so I think that may have messed with some of these numbers. But Alabama, number 7, and why I bring up the COVID year, because according to Adam Sparks reporting, Alabama spent $527,000 on recruiting 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then up to 2.3. So I just wanted to make that note. Man, they recruited. That budget went way up, Shade. Alabama, remember they finished 2nd in recruiting. Nick Saban said, by God, that ain't happening again. Spending the money. Now they're number 1 again. So I don't know if that played a factor or not, but it's pretty wild that they nearly increased the budget by $2 million. You know what?
Well, I mean, it's kind of wild. I'm trying to make something of these numbers. You're looking at Georgia there, national champs back-to-back. You got Alabama had a little bit of an off year, but they're spending money. Tennessee having the best season they've had in a long, long time. Texas A&M's the only one that's skewed a little bit, but we know they got the talent down there. So I think there may be something to this, brother.
Now, how about this one, Shane? This one is, I think if I'm a Florida fan, you're not quite thrilled with what Billy Napier has done yet on the field, but they're killing it in recruiting. Number 10 in the country, Florida. Now, this is, I don't think it's got anything to do with COVID, Shane. I think this is Billy Napier influence. We went from $391,000 was our budget, 1.6 last season. So, he's hired an army down there, and this is their job, get elite prospects to Gainesville. So, if nothing else, I mean, that's a great sign that Billy Napier's got this thing pointed in the right direction, at least on the recruiting trail.
Yeah, and I think that's something he wanted to cover when he got down there, and upgrading the facilities, making Gainesville look more attractive to recruits that are coming in. I know your boy said they don't need a barber, but man, Gainesville needs a barber down there, just put all that money in recruiting. And that's, if you're not winning on the field, as long as you're winning on the recruiting trail, I think it eventually it bounces out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I love that my team, if I'm a Florida Gator fan, is making this much commitment to getting these recruits on campus.
Now, next is Auburn, 16 in the country. I have to imagine, Shane, with Hugh Freeze.
Oh, yeah.
We're doing this list next year. They're going to be way up the list because they're going to add that commitment. Ole Miss was 19. And how about this, Shane? This is Lane Kiffin effect. He has demanded that, we have more of a commitment. Ole Miss went from $165,000 spent on recruiting to $1.2 million. So over $1 million more dollars to the recruiting for Ole Miss, which rated them number 19 in the country. Arkansas, 21. Missouri, 22. That's another one, Shane, that went from $175,000 to $1.2 million. So they're making the commitment there under Drink. South Carolina, number 26. I think that says a lot about Shane Beamer and their ability to recruit if they're only spending that type of money. Kentucky, 35. LSU, this is stunning, Shane. LSU, number 46. I don't
What's
understand
their numbers
that
look
one.
like? Do you got a year breakdown on them?
Well,
like
this is according to Adam Sparks. He says they had a 54% reduction in recruiting expenses due to the pandemic. So
Okay.
I would imagine that number is going to skyrocket back up, but
Yeah.
it's just weird to see them all the way down there. And then last, Mississippi State, number 48. We do not have Vanderbilt's number because they're a private school. They do not have to publicly report these things. But I don't know. I just thought SEC fans would be kind of interested to see how much money their team is spending on recruiting.
Yeah, I think the biggest surprise on that list, like you said, was LSU. I'm a little surprised in Arkansas, a team that's got a lot of good boosters down there, a lot of money.
Yeah.
I would think there would be a little bit more commitment to recruiting down there as well. Is there any other surprises on that list for you?
Again, South Carolina being so low that's interesting considering how well Shane Beamer and company, and you may have hit on it, Shane. I mean, Texas, number 6, we're not overlooking $2.4 million. That's a lot of money. But when I think of Texas, I think we do it bigger in Texas, right?
Yeah.
Biggest budget. I mean, they make more in their sports than anywhere. I'm kind of surprised Texas is not in the top 2 or 3.
Yeah. So I'm really don't be surprised if they don't move up the list either. That's the one that the Tigers. There's going to be a few. There's going to be some adjustments here, but you say what you want. We're talking teams in not just SEC team rankings, man. This is college teams, period. And all but maybe one of them is top 25. So They're spending the money down here, man.
Yeah. Well, hey, I was just talking about Shane Beamer. Shane, let's kick it on down to Columbia real quick where Beamer recapped the recent scrimmage. And I got to be honest with you, Shane, he didn't have a ton to say about the scrimmage that I thought was really worth kind of sharing. I think they're kind of keeping it close to the vest. But the one thing, and I think if I'm a Gamecock, I love to hear this, Shane, because there's all this hype, there's all this positivity for the second offseason in a row down there in South Carolina. Expectations are sky high. Well, I just love the fact that Shane Beamer, I mean, he's basically he's not singling anybody out. He's here. No. He's not singling anybody out, Shane, but he says, hey, if you're not putting in the time, the effort, I don't care what your experience is, basically you're going to lose your job. And I love the fact he said some of these players are going to be stunned when they see the end of results. So let's kick it over to Shane Beamer real quick on the end of the camp needs to be their best football yet. I just thought this was a great comment.
And you're coming up on your last few actual practices before the spring game. Is there anything that you want to see to kind of close out the practice portion of the spring, whether it's just more polish from guys or what's important for you to see as a head coach the last few practices?
Just how we continue to progress and get better. That's what I talked to the team about after practice. Like the human nature is, okay, we're 10 practices down. Next week's the last week of spring break. We got Easter weekend coming up. Human nature is to go, all right, we're good, and just kind of coast. And I talked to the team about this today. I went back and like this week last year, we didn't do a great job academically. We didn't do a great job keeping the locker room clean, a lot of things like that, where maybe last year we took a breath and didn't get better. That's what I'm looking for, is how we continue to get better. Players, coaches, all of us, every single person in this building. There's no complacency, and there better not be any complacency after 10 practices with 1 week of spring practice left. We got a lot of work to do, and that's what I want to see, how we continue to progress and get better. And then also, some of these older guys, do they continue to take a step and improve, or do they get caught by some of these young guys? Y'all have been around here long enough, or been around me long enough to know that, there's no jobs that are given here right now. You earn and compete for everything. And if anybody's getting complacent and think they've got a job locked up, they're going to be shocked here, pretty quickly. And I want to see these young guys continue to come along and push these older guys.
All right, Shane. So, hey, I mean, he's putting some of these guys on notice. Again, not naming names, but this is what you got to do, right? I'm not certainly saying the Gamecocks are out here reading their press clippings or anything, but right. I think comments like this ensure that doesn't happen, if that makes sense.
Kind of feels like a note out of Saban's book here, don't it? Like, this wasn't for us. Right. This was for the players. This is a reminder that you take your foot off the gas, you lost your job. So I think that's where South Carolina's at right now. They can't afford for a letdown, because it does. I mean, this is a kickoff for summer. This is a kickoff for, you're setting momentum, up for fall. You're about to let these guys loose, and you don't want to see that during the 2-3 weeks that you're in practice that they're already letting up. You want to see it 100 miles an hour, knowing that these kids are going to continue to work hard, because if they don't here the next couple months, they will not have that starting job when they hit campus.
Right. All right, Shane, next let's kick it on down to Fayetteville, where same deal here. Sam Pittman recapped a recent scrimmage down there in Fayetteville. And Shane, remember last week, go back and check it out if you missed it. We did the over-unders. Shane went over. I went under. I might be back on the bandwagon, man, because, man, this is exactly what I wanted to hear from Sam Pittman.
Yeah.
The defense, they struggled mightily. No, not any breaking news saying that, but with a new defensive coordinator, Travis Williams, we'll get to some comments in just a moment on that. But Sam Pittman was asked right out the gate, what stood out from the scrimmage? He's all over this defense, loves what he's seeing. And Landon Jackson, Shane, is someone that I was hearing buzz about last year. Elite high school recruit, went to LSU, but quickly transferred to Arkansas. Sounds like he is making his presence felt now in his second year at Arkansas. Let's kick it over to Sam Pittman.
Hey, Coach. Yeah, just hoping you could tell us just anything about the scrimmage, what your overall thoughts were.
Well, I was really impressed, with the defense. I thought Landon Jackson had as good a day as he's had since he's been here. I thought he was so impressive. I really like our defensive ends, with Stu and Zach and Nico and John and of course, Jeffcoat. Those guys, we're coming along. We're pretty talented there. We're a little short on the inside because Cam Ball's got a high ankle. I was impressed with our linebackers. I really was. With Greer, Crook, and Paul, Manny Powell played a lot better. I was impressed with those guys, the way they, we blitzed quite a little bit. And, we had a breakdown a little bit. We got beat in a 2-minute situation at corner for a touchdown late in the scrimmage. And then we got beat another time in the secondary. But other than that, I thought that they tackled well. We had 122 plays, Trey, and situational. We, obviously we went second and played third. Then we went third and played fourth. But for the most part in that scrimmage, the defense got the better of the offense. I thought KJ did well. Tackling was pretty good for the first scrimmage. So I don't really know how good we are in the secondary yet, because to be perfectly honest with you, we didn't have a lot of time to throw the football. And that says something about the defensive line. So that's.
Yeah, Sam, you mentioned Landon Jackson earlier. How is he different or better than maybe when the season ended, and what led to his big day Saturday?
I think if you look back, Landon didn't, he had come off ACL. He was tall and thin. I mean, he was skinny. And he was playing about 3/4 speed. And he got a little bit better as the year went on. Now he's bigger, confident, long. I mean, he's a problem now, and a good problem. He's on our team, but he's a problem if you're an offensive lineman. And I mean, it's just his speed and his size right now that, I mean, he's been hard to block.
All right, Shay, and not just Landon Jackson, but Trajan Jeffcoat, the Missouri transfer. This is a guy that Sam Pittman has mentioned many times this spring as standing out, but man, you got to love that if you're an Arkansas fan, right? The defense getting better. That's critical to our success next season.
I like it. He's like, they're going to be a problem, but not a problem for us because they're on our team. I love it, man. It just this is what you want to hear from your coach, man. This is convincing me. Here I felt like I went on a little bit of a limb and took the over with Arkansas, but when a coach comes out, and he's not just talking about defense, he's talking about depth on defense, and that's exactly where Arkansas has struggled, is those 2s and 3s stepping up and being playmakers. So it just seems like that side's really coming along. So that's very encouraging.
Right. And the other noteworthy thing I thought he said, Shane, he was asked, new defensive coordinator Travis Williams, new offensive coordinator Dan Enos. Of course, that's a huge talking point in Fayetteville this offseason. What's the biggest thing those guys bring? Again, I love these comments that he shared with a new defensive coordinator and frankly, a new defensive staff. Let's kick it over to Sam Pittman one more time.
The most significant change that Dan Enos and Travis Williams are bringing, contrasting to what was done previously?
Well, we're in a whole different front, on defense. We're very aggressive on defense. So I think that would be the most significant change. The kids are really adapting to T. Will and Woodson and Wilson and of course Deke's back, but they have a really good rapport with the kids. Dan is a totally different style in that it's more of a pro style offense. And to me, there's a lot of identification and reads before you snap the ball in a pro style offense. And in a quick, fast pace, a lot of your decision making comes after the snap of the ball. And so I think that's probably the biggest difference. Now, KJ, and we're going under center some, and KJ's really taken to that. I got to say this. I think Criswell over the last two practices is starting to catch on, and he's showing his arm strength and his accuracy. So been really pleased with those two guys. But I'd say that's probably the biggest difference in a pro style, which Dan brings to us, and a fast-paced offense.
No disrespect to Barry Odom by any means, because I thought he was outstanding. I've said it many times. People probably tired of me saying it. He won them a couple games, some of the big-time games, because of matchups against Ole Miss, against Texas. I mean, those games were won because Barry Odom came up with some masterful game plans. But at times, Shane, sitting back, keeping everything in front of you, dink and dunking on defense, maybe there's a reason why the defense struggled so much, particularly when guys went down. So now we're switching it up. We're being more aggressive. We're trying to force the issue. I love these comments as well.
No, I do too, Mike. And sometimes you need a new start, a fresh start, even though Sam's been up there for a little bit. I think this is good, not just for the fans, but also for the players, because if you've ever played defense, Mike, it's more fun when you can pin your ears back, and you can be a little bit more aggressive. Are there going to be mistakes made? Absolutely. But I'd rather make those mistakes than sit back on my heels and like you said, get dinked and dunked on, and then we walk away saying, well, shit, we never put them away. You put them away by some aggressive defense, causing those turnovers and making Arkansas fun, So I like these comments.
Yeah. All right, Shane, sticking in the SEC West, let's kick it on down to Oxford, where Lane Kiffin met with the media here recently, and no surprise, the Lane train and his offense a little bit ahead of schedule compared to Pete Golding, first-year defensive coordinator down there, and his defensive unit still implementing a new 4-down lineman system here. Let's kick it over to Lane Kiffin, who it's starting to sound, Shane, like I don't want to say this is quarterback competition's over. I think that's very premature, but all indications are Jackson Dart has showed up and showed out, whereas Spencer Sanders a little dinged up. Walker Howard has got all the talent in the world, but his first year in the system, it would only be natural if he's a little bit behind here in spring. So here's Kiffin talking about all that.
Obligatory quarterback question, but what are you seeing from the guys behind Jackson, maybe pushing at him right now?
I think they're doing a really good job. I think both learning new systems that are very different from the system that they were in. I think, and then Spencer's been limited from a physical standpoint. So I think anytime you have new guys like that, they'll be a little behind, and then you usually see a jump late in spring, early fall camp for them.
First scrimmage Saturday, what were you kind of wanting to see in that first one, and what did you see out of looking back on the film?
I thought it's always good and bad when one side plays well. There were too many explosive plays defensively, so it means we were making them on offense. Too many sacks with pass protection So again, issues on offense, but good stuff on defense. So just a lot of work to do.
They're going to be chatting with.
All right, Shane. So again, no surprise here. Kiffin, again, he's kind of keeping things close to the vest here, but it is interesting that he's opening up and at least admitting that the offense is, playing pretty well under Jackson Dart. That's something, because I think if Ole Miss is going to have a big season, Shane, as excited as some fans may have been to get Spencer Sanders, as excited as they were when they got Walker Howard, I'm not talking about the future. I'm just talking about this season. If Ole Miss is going to be as good as they possibly can, I think the path to that is Jackson Dart being our leader. He's won the lock. He's like a captain down there already, and he's got all the talent in the world. We just didn't see it last year. I think he has got to take command and take his game to the next level. I think that's how we unlock Ole Miss's full potential. What do you think on that?
Yeah, I think so too, Mike. I mean, it's something. I gave him a hard time last year, and I'm going to keep giving him a hard time until he, steps up and proves to me that he is a upper echelon quarterback, which he has the pieces, like you just said. He's very, very talented. Yeah. But he wasn't always an X factor, and I think that's what Ole Miss needs. They need, there's going to be games that he's going to have to win with his arm and not just the leg. So I think, having a quarterback competition may be the wake-up call he needed. I mean, now when you're looking over your shoulder, you're not guaranteed that you're going to have the job. That makes you put in extra time at film study. It makes you work extra at practice. And like you said, I fully think he has the locker room. But, now he's proven it to his coach, it sounds like. So if Lane Kiffin's ready to roll with him, then I think Ole Miss may be in really good shape.
Yep. And one other thing from Lane Kiffin, and this also gets tied to some potential news here, Shane. Again, the portal king down there, they call him, adding pieces every offseason. Strongly suggest they ain't done with the transfer portal. Let's kick it over to Lane Kiffin.
I'm glad you played this, Mike, because when he said, I said, I can't be the only one that heard him. He's always selling that thing.
Your season got going, you kind of said that you expected there to be a little bit more adding depth pieces, maybe not like starters, right? Now that you've got all your guys, you've seen them for a few weeks, did that kind of play out the way you thought it would?
Yeah, I think you're seeing that at linebacker. You're seeing that at offensive line, especially. So, yeah, and we're nowhere near playing a game, so we really don't have ones as much, and we rotate a lot of competition in there and stuff. But I think when it's all said and done, including guys that will be added in this next window, they're not all going to start. There'll be a number of them that are significant backups.
Well, and also, Shane, I was totally unaware of this, but the Athletic is reporting, originally the second portal window was supposed to be May 1st to May, I think, 14th or 15th.
Yeah.
That has apparently been pushed up. So,
oh, wow.
April 15th to April 30th, we're 10 days away, Shane, from this portal opening. I have no idea why they pushed it up, because some teams are not going to be even done with spring football. So I can imagine where, you have a rough day on the practice field, you're in the portal by the afternoon. I mean, that's probably going to happen. I hope it doesn't, but that may happen. So it may be sooner rather than later that Ole Miss is adding pieces once again in the transfer portal.
Well, I think it's good you're getting them on campus sooner, but yeah, I think the timing's kind of wonky. But there's going to be a lot of butthurt kids out there that don't have the position they thought they were going to have. I mean, hell, we're just talking about a quarterback competition in Ole Miss. I mean, one of those boys may exchange out, So definitely, if anybody, because this is something he's talked about multiple times now and reminding us that there is another window. And apparently he's been working with some kids in there already. So I'm definitely keeping an eye on what's going on down there in Ole Miss.
All right, Shane, last stop here. Let's jump on down to the Plains, where this is something that, we have talked about, but in the spring, you don't want the offense to be dominating every day, because then, what's that say about your defense? You don't want your defense to be the damn steel curtain, because then, you don't got an offense. So if nothing else, it sounds like, Hugh Freeze seems pretty mystified on what the hell's going on down there, but at least he's saying, hey, one day the offense dominates, one day the defense dominates. Let's kick it over to Hugh Freeze. I got a question for you on the other side.
Truthfully, Wednesday was the exact opposite of the previous Friday, and it was a total domination by the offense, which I don't have the luxury of leaving the practice field feeling good either way. So I thought 2 Fridays ago we stunk on offense, and I hope we're really good on defense. And then Wednesday I left practice thinking, we stink on defense. Maybe we're pretty good on offense. So the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. And we're nowhere near where we need to be on either side yet. But the offense had a really good day Wednesday.
So having said all that, Shane, is this the way that you would prefer it if you were a coach? One side of the ball dominating one day and the other the next? Or how would you ideally want that in the spring?
That's a great question, Mike. And I want to answer it 2 ways, because part of this, I think, is a little bit of the hangover, not the hangover, but the continuation of we need a scrimmage with another team. So you kind of got to play that card, it felt like, a little bit. But if I'm a coach, man, no, I think if I know my defense is legit, and I want them to come out and be legit. I want my offense to struggle, because if that's the case, my offense will get better playing that defense. You know what I'm saying? Going back and forth and not really having a firm grip on who's running this thing, that I don't want to say worries you, because he makes a comment. Hell, they may be doing really good, and it's so I don't know. I'm kind of torn there, but. If I'm like I said, all offense or all defense, I want one side to kick ass.
Yep. And so speaking of the biggest question there on the Plains, who will be Hugh Freeze's quarterback come opening weekend here? And is he even on the roster? We don't know. But I just love the fact that this is what you're getting when you hire Hugh Freeze. Whether you love him, you hate him, whatever. He's been in the SEC. He knows what comes with being a starting quarterback in the SEC, the pressure, not just on the field, in the locker room, on campus, and all that. Just some interesting comments, I thought, from Hugh discussing, all that's asked of a quarterback at an institution like Auburn, and he gives a little insight into kind of the strengths and the weaknesses of the 3 guys competing for this job.
Solid. I think he has a real chance to be a solid quarterback, but I think the other 2 again had good days also, better days. And so the interesting thing will be their response to the competition that's created and that has been created, that will continue to go on. And being the quarterback, to me, at an SEC school, at a place like Auburn, carries a lot of weight with it. And that weight doesn't end when spring practice 15 is over. And how does that go through summer? And what does that look like in the leadership of this team? And that will all play into, ultimately, who gets that first nod. And it's be interesting to see how all respond to that. Robbie's pocket presence, quieter feet in the pocket. TJ's playing within the system has gotten better. He's made some accurate throws. Just sometimes it shouldn't have been thrown. It should have been handed off. So this was new to him, so he's done that. Holden's accuracy, particularly on down the field throws. He had several explosives Wednesday. I think has improved. Still got to work on his. He's got to get still in the pocket too, but he's still young.
All right, Shane. So again, if nothing else, hell, I listen to all these press conferences. I mean, when I hear these comments, I feel like I have a good feel for a coach that understands everything that comes with the position, and some of them sure as hell don't, and I think Hugh does.
Well, and the thing I like about it too, it's kind of a breath of fresh air, down there in the plains. Last year, all we kept hearing was just coach speak, coach speak. It's just, oh my gosh, you could record the conversation you had week 1. It's going to be the same that you had week 8. At least you's coming out here and it feels a little authentic. It feels like, hey man, okay, we're not where we need to. I mean, he's just telling us what he thinks, what he just saw in practice, and he's not hiding it or sugarcoating it. Yeah. I like that, Mike, me personally, because because if you come out and you just say the same old, and we don't see the improvement, then you feel like you're not getting improvement, But if you's coming out and say, hey, man, we did really good on offense, but we did really good the other day on defense. It's just telling you the truth, I think, and that I like it. I don't know. Like I said, it's just a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, buddy, it's a breath of fresh air just talking football with you. But hey, that's all we got on this episode. You got anything else before we hop off the line?
No, man, no. This is it's been a good one. Been a good week so far. I love talking spring ball, and hopefully we'll get it feels like we're getting some clarity here. I'm feeling a little bit better about the Ole Miss quarterback situation. I'm feeling better about the Arkansas defense, Yeah. So some of these question marks, these lingering question marks that we had at the tail end of last season, it feels like they're starting to get answered a little bit here. So no, that's what I love, and we're going to keep putting out content. So be sure that you subscribed on the YouTube channel if you want to see how good looking Mike is, and turn notifications on. He's going to be putting out the shorts and everything like that. But if you do subscribe, screenshot it, send it to thatsecpodcast@gmail.com, and Mike will do the work of going to get you a koozie and sending it to your house, because we want to drink some cold beer this fall, Mike, and I want to make sure everybody's got a koozie when they do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we appreciate each and every one of you that does that subscribes to the show in any way you can. And that's just our way of saying thanks to each and every one of you. But I thank you, buddy, for showing up one more time here. I appreciate each and every one of you for hanging out. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right. See you guys. Go Vols.